The conference room was massive, stretching far beyond what any human building could contain. Kyle Morrison stood at the podium, looking out at the representatives of 47 alien species. Some floated in the air, some sat on strange chairs, and some didn't seem to have bodies at all. This was the Galactic Confederation, and humanity wanted to join. The creature speaking to Kyle looked like a giant praying mantis made of liquid metal. Its name was difficult to pronounce, but everyone called it the Prime Minister. The translator device in Kyle's ear converted the clicking sounds into English. "So the humans want to join us," the Prime Minister said, its voice full of mockery. "Tell me, Ambassador Morrison, why should we allow your primitive species into our civilization?" Kyle kept his face calm. He had expected this. Every report from the first contact team had warned him that the Confederation looked down on humanity. Earth was small, poor in resources, and technologically backwards compared to these ancient civilizations. "We bring determination and adaptability," Kyle said. "Humanity has faced extinction dozens of times on our world. We survived ice ages, plagues, predators, and our own mistakes. We never gave up." A floating jellyfish creature pulsed with light. The translator converted its bioluminescence into speech. "Your world has nothing we need. Your ships are slow. Your weapons are weak. You have barely explored your own star system. What could you possibly offer us?" Admiral Patricia Blake stood next to Kyle. She was the highest-ranking military officer in the human delegation. Her hand moved slightly toward her weapon, but Kyle shook his head almost imperceptibly. Starting a fight here would doom Earth's chances forever. "We are willing to learn from you," Kyle replied. "We understand we have much to discover, but we are fast learners." The Prime Minister made a sound like breaking glass. Kyle realized it was laughing. "Learn your place first, human. The Confederation is made up of civilized species. We evolved beyond violence and barbarism millions of years ago. Your kind still wages war on itself." Other representatives murmured in agreement. Kyle felt Patricia tense beside him. The insult was clear, and it stung because it was partly true. Humanity had only achieved global peace 30 years ago. After the Third World War nearly destroyed everything. "Perhaps we could prove our worth through action," Kyle suggested, keeping his voice steady. The Prime Minister leaned forward, its metallic body reflecting the strange lights of the chamber. "Action? Very well. We have a problem you can solve if you are so capable. In the Kepler sector, there is a nest of pirates. They have been raiding our supply convoys for 6 months. Our fleet has tried to eliminate them, but failed. The asteroids in that region create too much interference for our sensors, and the rocks are too dangerous for our large ships to navigate." Kyle glanced at Patricia. She studied the star chart that appeared on her datapad. After a moment, she gave a small nod. "The pirates hide in an asteroid field?" Kyle asked. "Yes, they strike our convoys and disappear into the rocks. We have blockaded the sector, but they slip through our patrols. If your primitive vessels can eliminate this threat, we will reconsider your application to join the Confederation." The other representatives clicked, hummed, and pulsed in what Kyle recognized as amusement. They were setting humanity up for failure. The challenge was designed to be impossible. When Earth failed, the Confederation could reject them and no one would question the decision. Kyle looked at Patricia again. Her expression was unreadable, but he saw a glint in her eyes. She wanted this challenge. "We accept your terms," Kyle said firmly. The Prime Minister's metal surface rippled with what might have been surprise. "You accept? Just like that? You do not want time to study the problem or consult with your superiors?" "No, we accept now. How long do we have?" "The raids have continued for 6 months. We give you 1 month. If you cannot eliminate the pirates in that time, your application will be rejected, and Earth will remain isolated." "Understood," Kyle said. As the session ended and the various representatives began to leave, Patricia leaned close to Kyle. "They're setting us up to fail. That asteroid field is probably a nightmare to navigate." "I know," Kyle replied quietly. "But did you see the data? The pirates have been raiding the same convoy routes repeatedly. They're predictable." Patricia smiled slightly. "You're thinking like a hunter." "That's exactly what I'm thinking. The Confederation sees this as an impossible military problem. They try to use overwhelming force and advanced technology to solve everything, but sometimes the old ways work better." They walked out of the conference chamber together. Outside, the rest of the human delegation waited nervously. Commander Ryan Murphy stepped forward immediately. He was Patricia's second-in-command and the captain of humanity's newest warship. "Well, what happened?" Ryan asked. "We got our test," Patricia said. "Pirates in an asteroid field. 1 month to eliminate them." Ryan whistled. "An asteroid field? That's tough terrain." "For the Confederation ships, yes," Patricia replied. "Their vessels are huge, designed for fleet battles in open space. But our ships are smaller and more maneuverable. We designed them for combat in Earth's solar system, around planets and moons and asteroid belts." "You think we can do this?" Ryan asked. Patricia looked at Kyle, then back at Ryan. Her expression was serious but confident. "The Confederation has been trying to use lions to hunt rabbits in a briar patch. They're too big, too slow, and too proud to adapt their tactics. But humanity spent millions of years as persistence hunters. We tracked prey across continents. We waited in ambush for days. We learned every inch of our hunting grounds." She pulled up the star chart on her datapad showing the Kepler sector. "These pirates think they're safe in those rocks. They think the asteroids protect them, but they're about to learn what real hunters can do." Kyle watched the other members of the delegation. He saw doubt in some faces and hope in others. Earth had gambled everything on this one chance to join the galactic community. If they failed, humanity would remain isolated, cut off from the resources and knowledge of thousands of advanced civilizations. But if they succeeded, everything would change. "When do we leave?" Ryan asked. "Immediately," Patricia said. "Get the Defiant ready for departure. I want full sensor packages and enough supplies for extended operations. We're going to study these pirates before we make a single move." "Yes, Admiral," Ryan said, saluting before hurrying off to prepare. Kyle and Patricia stood alone in the corridor. Through the transparent walls, they could see the massive station orbiting a purple gas giant. Ships from dozens of species came and went, each one representing a civilization that had conquered the stars. "Do you really think we can do this?" Kyle asked quietly. Patricia turned to him, her expression hardening. "Kyle, humanity survived on a planet where almost everything was trying to kill us. We had no claws, no fangs, no armor, no venom. We were weak compared to the predators that hunted us. But we survived because we were smarter. We learned to track, to plan, to wait for the perfect moment to strike. These aliens forgot how to hunt because they never had to. They built their civilizations on worlds where they were already at the top of the food chain." She looked back at the departing alien ships. "They're about to learn what a real apex predator looks like." The USS Defiant floated silently in the darkness beyond the Kepler Nebula. The ship's gray hull absorbed the starlight, making it nearly invisible against the black void of space. On the bridge, Captain Jake Collins stood with his hands clasped behind his back, staring at the main view screen. Jake was younger than most ship captains, only 35 years old, but he had more combat experience than officers twice his age. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion and the Titan border conflicts. He understood warfare in ways that most people never would. "Report," Jake said calmly. Lieutenant Lauren Fisher looked up from her sensor station. She was the best sensor operator in the fleet, capable of finding targets that other officers would miss entirely. "I've completed the long-range scan, Captain. The pirate base is exactly where the Confederation said it would be. Inside the asteroid cluster at coordinates marking on your display now." A holographic image appeared above the main console. It showed a dense field of asteroids, some as small as cars and others as large as mountains. The rocks tumbled slowly through space, creating a chaotic maze that would be deadly for any ship trying to navigate through it. "How many ships?" Jake asked. Commander Ryan Murphy stood at the tactical station. He was studying the sensor data carefully. 15 vessels, sir. Mix of light cruisers and fighters. The pirates are mostly Confederation deserters, criminals who stole military ships and went rogue. They've been using this base for half a year. Why hasn't the Confederation dealt with them?" Jake asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Ryan pulled up additional data. "Their ships are too big to maneuver in that field. The Confederation tried 3 separate times to assault the base. Each time they lost ships to collisions with the asteroids. The rocks are too close together, and the debris creates massive interference with their targeting systems. Eventually, they gave up on direct assault and just blockaded the exits from the sector." "Let me guess," Jake said. "The blockade didn't work." "No, sir. The pirates use hit-and-run tactics. They wait until a convoy passes near the sector. Then they send out fast raiders. The ships slip through the blockade, hit the convoy, and retreat back into the asteroids before the Confederation can respond." By the time reinforcements arrive, the pirates are already hidden again. Jake studied the holographic display, rotating it to see the asteroid field from different angles. His mind was already working through possibilities and strategies. The Confederation is trying to use their standard military doctrine. Overwhelming force, superior technology, numerical advantage. But that doesn't work here. Lauren spoke up from her station. Sir, the asteroid field is about 200 kilometers across. The density of rocks creates so much interference that the Confederation sensors can't maintain a lock on anything inside for more than a few seconds. But our sensors can, Jake said. It wasn't a question, yes sir. Our sensor array was designed specifically for operations in Earth's solar system. We had to be able to track targets through asteroid belts, planetary rings, and debris fields. The Confederation never needed that capability because most of their territory is open space. Jake allowed himself a small smile. So they gave us a challenge that plays perfectly to our strengths. They think we're primitive because our technology is older. But they don't understand that we had to make our technology work in much harder conditions. He turned to address his entire bridge crew. Listen carefully, everyone. Humanity spent millions of years as hunters on Earth. We didn't have the speed of a cheetah or the strength of a bear. We couldn't fly like birds or hide like insects. But we had something better. We had patience and intelligence. Jake began to pace slowly across the bridge. Our ancestors would track an animal for days, learning its patterns and habits. They would wait in the cold and the rain for the perfect moment to strike. They understood that the best hunters don't rush in with brute force. The best hunters watch, learn, and strike when the enemy is most vulnerable. He stopped and looked at each member of his crew. These pirates think they're safe in those rocks. They think the asteroids protect them from the Confederation's big ships and powerful weapons. They're right about that. But they have no idea what a real predator looks like. What are your orders, sir? Ryan asked. Jake pointed at the holographic display. We don't attack the base. Not yet. First we watch. Lauren, I want you to track every single ship that leaves that base. Don't engage, don't reveal our position. Just watch and record everything. For how long, Captain? Lauren asked. As long as it takes, Jake replied. Days, weeks, months if necessary. We're going to learn everything about these pirates. How many ships they have, which pilots fly which vessels, what their patrol patterns are when they change shifts, where they refuel, which routes they prefer. We're going to know them better than they know themselves. Ryan frowned slightly. Sir, we only have 1 month before the deadline. I know. But rushing in without information is how you lose battles. The Confederation tried that approach 3 times and failed each time. We're going to do this right. For the next 17 days, the Defiant remained motionless in the shadow of the nebula. The crew worked in carefully coordinated shifts, ensuring that someone was always monitoring the pirate base. They recorded everything. Lauren built a detailed database of the pirate operations. She identified 15 different ships and learned to recognize each one by its energy signature and flight characteristics. She mapped out their patrol routes and discovered that the pirates followed predictable patterns. They changed shifts every 12 hours. Their supply runs happened every 4 days. Their raid teams always launched from the eastern side of the asteroid field. Jake spent hours studying the data, looking for weaknesses and opportunities. He noticed that the pirates had grown complacent. They had been safe in the asteroid field for so long that they had stopped being careful. Their patrols were sloppy. Their communication discipline was poor. They assumed the Confederation couldn't reach them, so they didn't bother with proper security measures. On the 18th day, Jake called a meeting with his senior officers. Ryan and Lauren joined him in the small conference room adjacent to the bridge. Jake brought up the holographic display showing everything they had learned. We move tonight, Jake announced. But we're not attacking their base. We're attacking them. Ryan leaned forward, studying the display. What's your plan, sir? Jake pointed to different locations on the map. The pirates send out patrol ships every 6 hours. 3 ships each time, following the same basic routes. They think the patrols are keeping them safe, but they're actually making themselves vulnerable. Each patrol ship is isolated and predictable. He traced a path through the asteroids. We enter the field here, using this canyon between these 2 large asteroids. Lauren's sensor analysis shows it's wide enough for the Defiant, but too narrow for Confederation ships. We position ourselves along the patrol route and wait. An ambush, Lauren said, understanding dawning on her face. Exactly. We take out the patrol ships one at a time, silently and quickly. By the time the base realizes something is wrong, we'll have eliminated half their fleet. Then we hit the base itself while they're confused and disorganized. Ryan studied the plan carefully. It's risky, sir. If they detect us before we're in position, we'll be trapped in that asteroid field with nowhere to run. That's true, Jake agreed. But the same is true for them. They chose to hide in those rocks because they thought it made them safe. We're going to turn their fortress into their prison. He looked at both of his officers. The Confederation thinks we're primitives because we don't have their advanced technology. But technology doesn't win battles. People win battles. Strategy wins battles. And humanity has been developing hunting strategies since before we even had language. Jake pointed at the holographic display. These pirates are about to learn the most important rule of nature. There's always a bigger predator. Kelvor was feeling very pleased with himself. The pirate captain leaned back in his command chair, watching his crew celebrate their latest successful raid. They had just captured a Confederation medical transport, carrying advanced regeneration equipment worth millions on the black market. It had been almost too easy. Kelvor was a Draxian, a species that resembled Earth's crustaceans but stood nearly 3 meters tall. His 4 eyes could see in multiple spectrums, and his thick shell could withstand small arms fire. He had been a decorated officer in the Confederation military before greed led him down a different path. Another perfect operation, Kelvor announced to his crew over the communication system. The Confederation still cannot find us in these rocks. We are untouchable here. His second-in-command, a Vexlar named Zix, worked at the sensor station. Zix's liquid metal body shifted nervously. Captain, I am detecting something unusual on long-range sensors. Very faint, almost below detection threshold. Kelvor waved a claw dismissively. It is probably just interference from the nebula. Focus on securing the cargo. Those regeneration units will make us all wealthy. Zix returned to his work, but the uneasy feeling remained. Something felt wrong, though he could not explain why. That was when the lights went out. For 3 seconds, the entire ship was plunged into complete darkness. Emergency power kicked in, bathing the bridge in red light. Kelvor's 4 eyes widened as he looked at the tactical display. 3 of his patrol ships were gone. Simply gone. No distress signals, no weapon signatures detected, no debris. They had vanished from sensors as if they had never existed. Impossible, Kelvor breathed, his voice shaking for the first time in years. Captain, Zix said urgently, I am detecting movement in Sector 7. Something is out there, but I cannot get a clear reading. It keeps disappearing behind the asteroids. Then target it and fire, Kelvor shouted, panic creeping into his voice. I cannot maintain a targeting lock. Whatever it is moves too quickly and seems to know exactly where we are looking. It is using the asteroids for cover, staying in our sensor dead zones. Another icon disappeared from the tactical display. Then another. 2 more patrol ships gone without even a chance to call for help. Kelvor stood up, his claws gripping the armrests of his chair hard enough to leave marks. All ships returned to base immediately. This is a priority alert. But it was too late. His orders came too slowly and the ships were too scattered. One by one, the remaining patrol vessels were picked off by an enemy they could not see or track. Each ambush was executed with perfect precision, the attackers striking from unexpected angles and vanishing before anyone could respond. The Defiant moved through the asteroid field like a predator stalking prey. Jake stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display with calm focus. His ship was smaller and more agile than anything the Confederation had, perfectly suited for this type of combat. Target their engines only, Jake ordered quietly. I want prisoners. The Defiant's railguns fired with surgical precision. 2 shots disabled the last fleeing pirate fighter before it could escape. The ship tumbled helplessly through space, its engines destroyed but its crew unharmed. Boarding team, you are clear to proceed, Jake said. Within minutes, Ryan and a squad of Marines had secured the disabled ship and brought the crew back to the Defiant. Kelvor was dragged onto the bridge, his 4 eyes blinking in confusion and fear as he tried to understand what had happened. The bridge of the human ship was smaller than any Confederation warship Kelvor had ever seen. The design was compact and efficient, with multiple redundant systems and armor plating that suggested the builders expected to take damage. This was a vessel built for war, not for showing off. You, Kelvor spat at Jake, trying to sound defiant. You are the humans, the primitives that everyone laughs about. Jake stood and walked slowly toward the prisoner. He was not a large man compared to the massive Draxian, but there was something in his eyes that made Kelvor step back involuntarily. "The Confederation told us this mission was impossible," Jake said quietly. "They said their ships were too advanced, too powerful to deal with pirates hiding in an asteroid field. They sent us here expecting us to fail." He stopped directly in front of Kelvor, "but they made a critical mistake. They assumed that advanced technology and overwhelming force are the only ways to win a battle. They forgot that sometimes the best weapon is patience and intelligence." Jake gestured at the view screen which showed the asteroid field. "You thought those rocks protected you. You thought you were clever, hiding where the big Confederation ships could not follow. And you were right about that. But the galaxy is full of different kinds of predators." He leaned closer, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "On Earth, humans were not the biggest or strongest species. We had no claws or fangs. We could not run as fast as the animals that hunted us. But we survived because we learned to track, to plan, to wait for exactly the right moment. We became persistence hunters, following our prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. We became ambush predators, studying patterns and striking from the shadows." Kelvor felt a chill run through his body. He had fought in dozens of battles during his military career. He had faced enemy fleets and survived combat that killed thousands, but he had never felt fear like this before. Jake continued speaking. "You made this asteroid field your fortress. You learned every rock and every hiding place. You thought that knowledge made you safe, but we watched you for 17 days. We learned your patterns. We studied your habits. We figured out which pilot flew which ship, which routes you preferred when you changed shifts. We knew everything about you while you knew nothing about us." He straightened up. "The Confederation fights like civilized beings. They announce themselves, follow rules of engagement, give warnings. But humanity remembers what it means to be a predator. We strike from the shadows. We wait for the perfect moment. We show no mercy to those who threaten what we protect." Ryan approached with a data pad. "Sir, we've secured the base. No casualties on our side. All pirate vessels are either captured or destroyed. Total operation time was 4 hours and 12 minutes. Jake nodded. "Excellent work, Commander. Prepare the prisoners for transport to the Confederation authorities." He turned back to Kelvor. "You spent 6 months raiding convoys and hiding in these rocks. You thought you were untouchable, but you were never the apex predator here. You were just prey that did not realize it was being hunted." Kelvor was led away to the brig, his mind still struggling to process what had happened. In 6 months, the Confederation had sent multiple fleets against him and failed every time. The humans had eliminated his entire operation in less than a day. Jake returned to his command chair. "Lauren, set course for the Confederation Council Station. I think Ambassador Morrison will be pleased with our report." "Aye, Captain," Lauren replied, already inputting the coordinates. As the Defiant pulled away from the asteroid field, Jake allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The mission had been a complete success. They had proven that humanity deserved a place in the Confederation, but more importantly, they had taught the galaxy an important lesson. Technology and resources mattered in warfare, but they were not everything. Strategy, patience, and the willingness to adapt were equally valuable. The Confederation was about to learn that the newest member of their alliance was also the most dangerous. Not because humans had the best weapons or the fastest ships, but because humanity had never forgotten what it meant to hunt. The Confederation Council chamber was completely silent as Kyle Morrison finished playing the combat footage. Representatives from 47 different species watched the recording of the Defiant systematically dismantling the pirate operation that had troubled them for half a year. The holographic display showed every detail of the operation, the patient surveillance phase where the humans watched and learned, the careful infiltration of the asteroid field, the precise ambushes that eliminated the patrol ships without giving them time to warn the base, the final assault that captured the remaining pirates with 0 human casualties. Kyle stood at the podium, watching the alien representatives process what they had just seen. The Vexler Prime Minister's liquid metal body had turned a darker shade, which Kyle had learned indicated deep thought or possibly concern. "This is not how Confederation forces conduct military operations," the Prime Minister said finally. Its voice had lost the mocking tone from their first meeting. "You used no overwhelming force, no massive fleet formations, no declarations or warnings, just patience and precision. On Earth we call it hunting," Kyle replied calmly. "My species spent hundreds of thousands of years perfecting these techniques. We did not have the natural weapons that other predators had. We survived by being smarter and more patient than anything else on our planet. A representative from the Kyrian Empire spoke up. The crystalline being communicated through pulses of light, that the translation system converted to speech. Your tactics are remarkably efficient. Some might say disturbingly efficient. Tell me, Ambassador Morrison, what else is your species capable of? Patricia stood beside Kyle, her posture relaxed but confident. Would you like to see our training footage for Special Operations Forces? Or perhaps our tactical doctrine for asymmetric warfare? We have extensive experience fighting enemies with superior technology and greater numbers. The Quillian representative, the floating jellyfish creature, pulsed with what the translator identified as anxiety. You speak of warfare as if it is natural to your kind, as if violence is woven into your very nature. It is, Kyle said simply, seeing no reason to lie. For most of our history, humans fought each other. We understand conflict on a fundamental level that I suspect most Confederation species do not. We know what it means to hunt, to fight, to survive against impossible odds. We have studied warfare for thousands of years because our survival depended on being better at it than everyone else. He paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. But we also understand peace. We chose to stop fighting each other and work together instead. We learned that cooperation is more powerful than conflict. That is what we offer the Confederation, the knowledge and instincts of predators who decided to become protectors. The Vexillar Prime Minister clicked its mandibles in a pattern Kyle now recognized as thoughtful consideration. I begin to understand the nature of your species. Earth evolved you in a crucible of constant danger. You were surrounded by predators larger and stronger than yourselves, so you became the ultimate predators in response. Not exactly, Patricia interjected. We were not just surrounded by predators. We were the prey. Every large carnivore on our planet saw us as food. Saber-toothed cats, bears, wolves, crocodiles. They all hunted us. So we learned to hunt them first. We learned to track them, to understand their behavior, to predict their movements. We learned that the intelligent predator defeats the strong predator every single time. She pulled up a star chart on her datapad and projected it for the council to see. Your ships are powerful. Your weapons are advanced. Your shields can withstand tremendous punishment. But all of that means nothing if you cannot find your enemy or predict where they will strike next. The representative from the Talixian Concordat stood up. The six-legged bear-like creature towered over most of the other delegates. Ambassador Morrison, your demonstration has been most enlightening. The Concordat formally votes to accept humanity into the Confederation. You have proven both your capability and your restraint. Kyle felt a surge of relief. The Talixian Concordat was one of the most respected members of the Confederation. Their endorsement would carry significant weight. One by one, other species voiced their agreement. The Kyrians voted yes, impressed by human tactical thinking. The Quillians voted yes, though reluctantly. Even smaller species that Kyle had barely spoken to began to support Earth's membership. Finally, only the Vexillar remained. The Prime Minister sat silently for a long moment, its metallic body shifting through different shades as it considered the decision. The Vexillar Collective votes to accept humanity, it said finally. But we do so with certain reservations. Your species is dangerous, Ambassador Morrison, more dangerous than you perhaps realize. We have seen what you can do with limited resources and primitive technology. It concerns us to imagine what you might become with access to Confederation knowledge and equipment. Kyle understood the concern. We do not seek to become a threat to the Confederation. We seek to become its strongest defenders. Every species here has something unique to offer. The Kyrians provide computational ability. The Talixians offer industrial capacity. The Vexillar contribute diplomatic expertise. Humanity offers something that has been missing from the Confederation for a very long time. And what is that? The Prime Minister asked. The ability to fight and win against overwhelming odds. The willingness to do what is necessary to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The knowledge that sometimes the only way to preserve peace is to be better at war than anyone who might threaten that peace. The Prime Minister clicked its mandibles in what might have been approval or resignation. Your words are honest, at least. Very well, the vote is unanimous. Humanity is accepted into the Confederation with full member status. The chamber erupted in various forms of acknowledgement. Some species applauded, others pulsed with light, and some emitted sounds that the translators struggled to interpret. Kyle allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction. As the formal session ended and delegates began to leave, Several representatives approached Kyle to introduce themselves and offer cooperation. The Kyrians wanted human advisors for their military academy. The Quillians requested Earth-trained security personnel to protect their merchant convoys. Even the Vexler suggested joint training exercises to help their forces adapt to human tactics. Patricia watched the interactions with a mixture of pride and caution. "They're afraid of us now," she said quietly to Kyle when they had a moment alone. "Good," Kyle replied. "Fear can be the foundation of respect. They invited us to join because they thought we would be harmless. Now they know better, but as long as we use our strength to protect rather than threaten, that fear will keep them honest." A young diplomatic aide approached with a data pad. "Ambassador, the Confederation High Command wants to schedule a meeting with Admiral Blake. They have questions about human military structure and training methods. Tell them the Admiral will be available tomorrow," Kyle said. As the aide hurried away, Patricia turned to Kyle with a knowing look. "They want to learn from us. 6 months ago they called us primitives. Now they want our expertise." "Things change quickly in politics," Kyle agreed. "The question is, what do we do with this opportunity? We have access to knowledge and technology that could advance Earth by centuries. But we also have responsibilities now. We are part of something larger than ourselves." Patricia nodded. "We show them what humanity is really capable of, not just in warfare but in everything. Science, engineering, medicine, art. We prove that being a predator species does not mean we are only good at destruction." Kyle looked out at the massive space station visible through the transparent walls. Ships from dozens of species moved in carefully coordinated patterns, each one representing a civilization that had reached for the stars. "Earth is part of the galactic community now," he said, "and whether they realize it or not, the Confederation just gained its most dedicated defenders. Because that is what humans do. We protect our pack no matter what the cost." Patricia smiled. "Then let's show them what pack hunters can accomplish when they work together." 6 months had passed since humanity joined the Confederation, and the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Admiral Patricia Blake sat in the newly established Joint Defense Command Center on the Confederation Capital Station, reviewing reports from across known space. The transformation had been remarkable. Human tactical advisors now worked with military forces from 17 different species. Earth-trained security teams protected trade routes that had been plagued by piracy for decades. Human sensor technology had been adapted for Confederation ships, dramatically improving their ability to track threats in difficult environments. But the changes went beyond military cooperation. Human engineers were helping to redesign Confederation vessels to be more maneuverable. Human scientists were sharing research on adaptive strategies that could solve problems in unpredictable environments. Human diplomats were teaching negotiation techniques based on understanding psychology and motivation, rather than simply relying on superior technology. Kyle entered Patricia's office carrying a data pad. His expression was serious, which immediately put Patricia on alert. "What is it?" she asked. "New intelligence from the Outer Rim. The border conflicts with the Zolthan expanse have decreased by 40% since we implemented our patrol strategies." Patricia nodded. "The Zolthans are not stupid. They realize that the Confederation is not easy prey anymore, not with humans helping coordinate defense." "There is something else," Kyle said, his voice dropping. "The Council has received disturbing reports from beyond the frontier. 12 colonies have been completely destroyed in the past month. No survivors, no warnings, no communication. Just total annihilation." Patricia stood up from her desk. 12 colonies in 1 month? That is not random raiding. That is systematic destruction." "Agreed. The Confederation sent their best reconnaissance ships to investigate. None of them returned." Patricia walked to the large window overlooking Earth's orbital shipyards. Dozens of new vessels were under construction, designs that combined human efficiency with Confederation technology. Each ship represented a merger of 2 very different philosophies of engineering and warfare. "What does the Council want from us?" she asked. "They want humanity to lead the investigation. Specifically, they want Captain Jake Collins and the Defiant." Patricia turned back to Kyle, one eyebrow raised. 6 months ago, they called us primitives who barely deserved membership in their civilization. Now they want us to face an unknown threat that has destroyed 12 colonies and defeated their best ships. "Yes," Kyle said. Because we are the only ones willing to hunt something that might be hunting us. Patricia returned to her desk and pulled up a star chart showing the affected region. The destroyed colonies formed a rough line moving inward toward more populated areas. Whatever was responsible was not randomly attacking targets. It was methodically working its way through the frontier, eliminating everything in its path. Do we know anything about what is doing this? Patricia asked. Very little. The few automated distress signals that were received before the colonies went silent mentioned ships unlike anything in Confederation databases. Large, powerful, and completely ruthless. Some reports described weapons that could destroy planetary shields in minutes. That level of firepower suggests a major military force, possibly an empire we have not encountered yet, Patricia said thoughtfully. The Council believes the same thing. They think we are facing first contact with a hostile civilization from beyond known space. Patricia studied the star chart carefully. The pattern of attack suggested a fleet moving with purpose, not raiders looking for easy targets. Whatever was out there had military discipline and significant resources. When does Jake leave? She asked. As soon as the Defiant is resupplied, he is requesting permission to take additional sensor equipment and long-range communication arrays. Approved. And tell him to take a full complement of Marines. If he finds these attackers, he may need to board and capture one of their ships to learn more about them. Kyle made notes on his data pad. I will relay your orders. But Patricia, there is something you should know. The Council is frightened. They have never faced an enemy like this before. Their entire strategy for thousands of years has been to avoid conflict through diplomacy and deterrence. They do not know how to fight a war of extinction. Patricia sat down heavily in her chair. But humanity does. Yes. Every major conflict in Earth's history was fought with the knowledge that losing meant potential extinction. We understand total war in a way that most Confederation species cannot imagine. That is both our greatest strength and our most terrible responsibility, Patricia said quietly. The Confederation is depending on us to protect them because they have forgotten how to protect themselves. She looked at Kyle seriously. Make sure Jake understands what is at stake. This is not just about proving humanity's worth anymore. This is about defending billions of lives across hundreds of worlds. Whatever is out there must be stopped. I will tell him, Kyle promised. 3 days later, the Defiant departed from the capital station and headed toward the frontier. Jake stood on the bridge watching the stars streak past as his ship accelerated to faster-than-light speeds. His crew was silent, each person focused on their duties and aware of the magnitude of their mission. Ryan approached with updated intelligence reports. Sir, we have analyzed all available data on the attacks. There is a pattern in the timing and location of each strike. Show me, Jake said. Ryan pulled up a holographic display showing the 12 destroyed colonies. Each attack happened exactly 72 hours after the previous one. The fleet moves in a straight line, hitting every inhabited system in its path. Based on this pattern, we can predict where they will strike next. Jake studied the projection. They are not trying to hide their movements. They want us to know they are coming. That suggests either supreme confidence or a deliberate psychological strategy, Ryan said. Or both, Jake replied. They want the Confederation to be afraid. They want us to see the destruction and know we cannot stop it. Lauren spoke up from her station. Captain, if Commander Murphy's calculations are correct, the next target will be the Taurian system. It is a mining colony with approximately 50,000 inhabitants. How long until the attack? Jake asked. Based on their pattern, 48 hours. Jake made his decision immediately. Set course for the Taurian system, maximum speed. If we are going to stop these attackers, we need to see them in action first. Sir, that will put us directly in their path, Ryan said cautiously. I know, but that is where we need to be. The Confederation tried to investigate from a safe distance and lost every ship they sent. We are going to do what humans do best. We are going to get close, study our enemy, and figure out how to kill them. He turned to address his entire crew. Everyone listen carefully. We are about to face something unknown and extremely dangerous. The Confederation has never encountered an enemy like this before, but humanity has faced extinction dozens of times throughout our history. We have fought enemies with better weapons, greater numbers, and superior technology, and we survived every time because we refused to give up, and we adapted to overcome every challenge. Jake looked at each member of his crew. Whatever is out there destroying these colonies, they have never fought humans before. They do not know what we are capable of. They think they are the apex predators in this part of space. They are about to learn the same lesson that every predator on Earth eventually learned. What lesson is that, sir? Lauren asked. Jake smiled grimly. That there is always something more dangerous waiting in the dark. And humanity spent millions of years becoming the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. These attackers are about to discover what a real apex predator looks like when it decides to protect its territory. The Defiant raced through the darkness of space, heading toward an encounter that would determine the fate of the Confederation. Behind them, the combined fleets of 47 species waited nervously for news, and ahead, an unknown enemy continued its march of destruction, unaware that they were about to face something they had never encountered before. Humanity had joined the galactic community, not as primitives seeking protection, but as the predators who would teach everyone what it truly meant to fight for survival.